Hi, I'm John Feldt. This is the Blue Water Outlook Midwest Flood Update Briefing for Friday, May 31st. Let's start off today's briefing by looking at where the rain fell over the last 24 hours. The area in yellow is over 2.5 inches. The brighter yellow is 3 inches, and the red is at least 6 inches. So if you look at the Missouri River drainage area right in here, you can see that there were some scattered areas of heavier rain around 3, but much of the basin was lighter amounts, only about an inch or so. If you look at the Missouri River or the Mississippi River drainage, you see that just some pockets of that 1 to 2 inch in there. So there really wasn't all that much precipitation, at least from a significance for river flooding over the Missouri or Mississippi River basin drainage as compared to the last several days. Now that's going to bring some water into the river over the Missouri side, but on the Mississippi, that's really not all that significant over the last 24 hours. So we verify that if we look at the forecast for yesterday's rainfall, that's on the right. And if we look at what actually occurred, that's on the left. There's actually some agreement. You can see that the forecast was calling for a maximum of about 1.5 inches just south of Kansas City. And actually it worked out pretty good there. If you look at it, it was a little bit heavier, about 2.5 inches in there. So all things considered, that could put a little bit more water into the Missouri, but I think in this case it's not going to be all that significant from the total content of the forecast for the Missouri River. As far as the Mississippi River goes, the forecast was for about 1 inch or so, and that looks like that worked out pretty good. Now these colors don't match, so be careful on that, but the green is about 1 inch to 2 inches, and the blue on here is about 1 inch to 1.5 inches. So I think overall, as far as what the forecast goes yesterday, it worked out pretty good for the last 24 hours. Now right now, as of midday, what we have here on the left here, we have a line of thunderstorms moving across Illinois and eastern parts of Missouri around St. Louis. This is what I call the reset stage of this event. Typically you get rain in the morning, and this is usually beginning to diminish as we go through the morning hours. I don't see a whole lot of signs of that. It's holding together a little bit better, but it's still, this is the time of day you normally see it begin to diminish in intensity. Now if we look down towards Oklahoma, you see no precipitation currently in there, in that region, and the satellite picture here on the right, we have a lot of breaks in the clouds, and that heating is really going to be the driving factor for the development of stronger thunderstorms and precipitation later today. When we get this clearing or some sunshine, that's going to fuel those thunderstorms. As far as the precipitation rates for the last 3 hours, some significant precipitation. 3-hour amounts with that band of thunderstorms is as much as 1 inch, maybe 1.5 inches in a few spots. But again, we're in the stage here as of midday. We're resetting for additional thunderstorms later in the day. One thing that's sort of interesting here, looking behind here, what we see is I see some enhanced thunderstorms behind the morning rain, and that's a sign to me that it's pretty unstable, and we'll have to keep an eye on that as we go through the day. So I mentioned yesterday that there's a lot of moisture transport, a lot of moisture in place. The red here is indicating that that moisture is beginning to be fed not only in Oklahoma but well into Missouri right now. You can also see the northern part of Missouri, it's trailing off quite a bit, but there's still plenty of moisture for heavy rain that will feed these thunderstorms over the next 24 to 48 hours. As far as aloft, what we have here, the area in blue here are the stronger winds. We have a core of strong winds. That's why there is a chance for severe weather with this. And this is the upper atmospheric energy, and that's going to be feeding those thunderstorms and heavy rain today. I want to mention there is a moderate risk of severe in the area of red. That's where the most extensive severe weather will be. In the area of slight, it's going to be a lot more scattered in coverage. Okay, so let's talk about the forecast for rain. This is for day 1, which is for Friday, from early morning Friday to early morning Saturday. And the heaviest amounts are expected to be from Oklahoma into southwest Missouri. Now, this briefing deals with Mississippi, Missouri and Illinois river flooding. If we look here, you see that here's the dividing line between these watersheds. So this heaviest rain is actually going to be south of the Missouri River watershed. So if we look at the Missouri River watershed, it's more modest amount of precipitation that 1 inch to 2 inch. And then if we look into Illinois, we see that 1 inch to 2 inch once again. Now, that is a sizable amount of rain, and it is saturated, but I think in the context of increasing crests from where they're currently at, an inch or two is probably not going to do all that much. I think we'd want to have more of a 3-inch rain to really get serious increases in the current forecast. So right now, an inch, that's going to most likely either a small bump or maybe keep the river up a bit higher. But we'll look at the forecast in just a minute here. Okay, in the short term, I wanted to look at how the short-term models might show how this might play out today. And this is later this evening. And what it shows is the heaviest precipitation is expected to remain in Oklahoma. And at least from this model, it does show over northern Missouri some development, but from this short-term model, it doesn't really show extensive development up into Missouri, Illinois, or Kansas at this time. Now, that could change. I still think that 1 to 2 inches looks good, but I will mention that at least one short-term model is saying it could be a little bit less in coverage. That might be due to the morning rain. It could stabilize it a bit and not really get fired up as much as initially thought. Now, if we look at day 2, the rainfall from this event is now moving south of these areas. This rain is going to be flowing to the south, so pretty much the final band of rain will be occurring today that's going to impact river levels on the Mississippi and the Missouri, at least the middle sections and the upper portions. Okay, so what we have in hydrologic models, we have past rainfall and future. Past is to the image on the left, future's on the right. Really the driver for this flood event is the past rainfall. Look at the areas in red. That's indicating 6 inches or more. The yellow is 3 inches or more. So really what's driving this flood event is the past rainfall that was covered almost all of northern Missouri, large parts of Iowa, large parts of eastern Nebraska, parts of central Illinois. That rainfall is currently based in the model forecast. So we know we received that much rain. But we add in the future rain, and I just discussed that, and that's why I said the future rain, that area of purple there, an inch or so, that's somewhat modest compared to what's already in the river. So that's why I said the impact of that probably won't be nearly as significant as what has already fallen. So right now, here's a close-up of the river forecast points. These are the forecast. Keep in mind that the red and the purple are what you want to focus on. Red is moderate flooding. Purple is major flooding. That's when you get impacts to roads, secondary roads, and perhaps inundation of structures. So keep in mind those are the areas we want to focus on. And I have the past rainfall in the background. So you can really see the rivers are responding right where the heaviest rain fell and then downstream from where the heaviest rain occurred. And then as it moves further south, unless there's rain of this magnitude, which I'm not expecting, through attenuation, the flood crest should be less further to the south. Now the next 5 days, here's an overview of forecast. The Missouri River Basin, you can see generally minor to moderate flooding. There are a couple spots that are either very high moderate or very low major, just one spot major at this current time. Along the Mississippi River, we see the tributaries, the Cedar River, parts of the Iowa River, and then all the way downstream the Mississippi, down to just north of St. Louis, moderate or predominant major flooding is expected at this time. If we review real quickly some of the forecasts on the Mississippi, this does show that here's Burlington. You can see the river is expected a slow rise, so these crests will occur later next week. This is next Thursday. If we go to Quincy, Illinois, you can see we've had a very steady rise here. It's going to sort of hold steady, maybe a slight rise later next week. Then the water, as it's beginning to move down into Missouri, Illinois border, what you can see very swift rises at Grafton. Grafton's going to be coming in just below major, and then St. Louis again just below major at this point. So these will be tweaked a little bit, and with tomorrow's forecast, we will have all the rain in there, and I think the accuracy will improve. But I think even with today's forecast, with the rain on the ground, there's probably a better accuracy for these forecasts. If we look at the Missouri, I mentioned high, moderate, or major in a few spots. Here's Jeff City on the left, and I believe that is Herman on the right. and you can see that brings it well into moderate flood stage at those locations. Now, it's important to take a look at the outlook as well, and Blue Water Outlook spends a lot of its it provides lots of information on medium and long range outlook for water resources, including stream flow. So I wanted to just really briefly mention this, is that right now the top image is through June 7th, and the bottom image is a precipitation forecast for the 8th through the 16th of June. And it still looks like there will be some scattered precipitation over the middle part of the nation. But right now, looking at the volume of this water, the amounts of rain, I don't see it being enough that's going to bring higher crests. There might be enough to sort of slow a recession or to hold it steady. But right now, out through the middle of June, even though there will be some scattered precipitation, it looks to me like it'll be south of the areas that have received the most rain, and any additional rain might just, like I said, keep up the river a bit longer or slow the recession. I don't see enough volume right now to bring additional crests, but I will keep an eye on that, and Blue Water Outlook puts information out on a weekly basis that covers those types of outlooks. So the takeaway points from today's briefing: significant flooding is still highly likely along portions of the Illinois, Mississippi, and Missouri drainages and their tributaries. It looks like the Mississippi River and the northern tributaries into the Mississippi, such as the Cedar River, likely impacted the most. On the Mississippi, from Keithsburg to Winfield, looks like it is highly likely to go into major flood. Most of the rainfall is now in the hydrologic model, so forecast accuracy and timing should be increasing. And the outlook looks like low chances for higher crests due to future rainfall through the middle of June. I want to remind you, as always, refer to official Weather Service information for specific forecasts and warnings. And if you'd like to sign up for additional notices of briefings, you can go to this site here, enter your email, and you'll get updates for briefings. Thank you for listening for today's briefing. I will be updating this again tomorrow about this time.